cards. I'm gonna give it to me now, so I put it in the car. Don't forget. After 1 line to exact. I told you to do.
Yeah, shot. Today's
How was the bris?
okay.
You were here?
Rang until 1:15, just sort of.
Eilon nicht stark. Du bist gekommen. Ich habe zugegräht, als Schirke Zapiches wird wasch. Ich nage. Right. Der hat gesagt, es ist schlecht, aber ich glaube, ich habe da gebracht von der Rebbe Sachen, Zapiches wird wasch. Ich darf mal Maso daheim benacht zu dir. Purim Kotan. Is there anything to do with Chabad? Huh? Is there anything to do with Chabad?
What, this?
Yeah.
What's it does?
Dreamer. You always come up with books.
Ah,
It's Zaydik.
yeah, Choshev English Yid. Choshev English Yid. Why not?
Shabbos, I went to Montreal, to the country over there.
Yeah,
So
how was it?
we just stay told the mikveh is not working in the winter because people are not coming in the winter over there. The people who have private houses. But there is water in the mikveh and there's a combination. So there's only a combination. So to go down the hill is about 10 minutes. There was no light and the water was frozen.
Oy.
It was 15 minus in the country over there. And it was snowing from Friday night till Sunday morning.
15 minus?
Yeah, and as it's snowing, they come every few hours with the trucks, and clean up. That's the way it is over there. So I got there, I broke the ice, I went in, and I came out.
In the mikveh?
In the mikveh.
Mamish.
And the room, it's cold also because they don't keep it, that's why the water froze. So I think I got cold from it. I dry myself very well, but when I walk back the hill, it's about 15 minutes because you walk back here
so
and
it's
ice. It's ice. So I think I got very sick from it. I wanted to see what the old Russian people said. We went in the snow and the ice. I knew that people that went told me, it's frozen, it's crazy, don't do it, you get sick. They were right. So I'm fighting a cold.
Poshit, there was ice in the mikveh.
Yeah, you break it, then you... Because the room is not...
And how did you see? It was choshech.
There is a window. There's a window.
It's like a shul upstairs and the mikveh is downstairs?
Yes. You been there already?
I think I was there, yeah.
In the summer, when there is a visiting day, a lot of people like to bid a Shabbos in this hotel. Shriki Cohen is the brother-in-law to Malachut. All year round, you want this hotel.
All year?
Shabbaton. It's booked already.
That's his parnosa.
Yeah.
Come, give it to Chavek. We're waiting for the Suda. It's like Purim Cotton. Darf sein nach Suda. Doch der Amo sagt. I'm waiting. Yeah, I thinking I would bring from my house and then I forgot. And then I was so after.
To bring some cookies.
Cookies, yeah.
My brother-in-law Levi Heber is a Moel. He told me once I went to New Jersey to make a bris by a shliach.
Yeah.
And as a minhag, I always go to the mikveh. So the only mikveh that I had was the winter private pool. The guy has like a cover on it. So I took off the cover, I broke the ice, and I went in and out. When I came out, my feet got stuck to the ice, and blood come out, because the skin pulled.
Ugh, mamish like the sip of the Vashem Tov.
Exactly. This is worse than me because I was at least in a room. It was like ice on ice.
But it's 15 below, so below the room 0. Was at least 0 degrees.
Yeah. You're in a freezer, basically.
Worse than a freezer. Freezer
right.
Is...
a little bit above.
Yeah.
And it's snowing. You walk on ice and snow. The reason you don't sleep because on the ice you have snow. So you like walking in the sand in the beach. That's how hard it is.
You get that cold, it's not
and in the hotel he doesn't have a mikveh?
No. But in the summertime, yes. The rabbi from the shul wanting the mikveh.
It's a Chassidish shul, no?
I'm not sure exactly where it belongs.
But they gave you the code. So.
Yeah. Interesting. It's not a kunz. By the Ariza, let's say you do it in the summer, so you come out to a hot place.
Yeah.
Here you're coming to a...
Arizal. I don't think it's not that cold.
Right, it's not ice?
Cold. It's not ice.
Exactly.
It's not ice.
This is ice.
It's not ice.
What's that?
Narizal's mikveh. You ever there?
I was there, but I didn't fly them.
It says whoever to have in the mikveh from Ariza not going to die to the mikveh. So you have a riches yom.
Many years ago. Maybe I did go.
It's pretty cold, but it's not.
It's not frozen.
And as soon as you come out, it's so hot. You wouldn't. Yeah, but it is.
Here you shiver.
As soon as you come out, it's so hot. You wouldn't know you were in a.
You're losing your breath when you go into the mikveh. Because the body is not used to. How?
And they had towels there?
Yeah, at least that. I said, okay, for the men to do that. But the ladies in Russia, how they did it? What kind of themselves nefesh they had? Imagine a lady would do that. I want to see American lady, one American lady would do it. There's no way.
Oh, that's why they had Mesiris Nefesh to make heated mikvahs taka. They tried very hard.
That's what we didn't have.
Right.
This is we didn't have.
Right.
The lady need to go to the river and break the ice.
Right.
So it's never for the lady to go. So it's never for the lady who go with her to make sure that.
Yeah.
Is it law in Russia?
Yeah, in all these frozen places.
Oh, I think they didn't have mikvahs there.
There was hot mikveh.
Not hot, but mikvahs they had.
No,
Women
under the
with-
Soviets, they closed all the
They closed.
missions.
Under the
They-
Soviets,
yes,
really?
yeah. So they had clandestine mikvahs, but they didn't have. But they didn't have, you know.
My brother-in-law father, Olav
Yeah.
Shalom, he is from Russia, and once he went to Rostov in Russia because the Tzion from the 5th Chabad Rebbe over there. So when he came over there, there was only few Lubavitcher live around there, and he knew one of them. He came to his house and he said to him, "I need to go to the mikveh. I can't go to the Rebbe without the mikveh." He said, "We don't have a mikveh." He said, "It's impossible. There is a mikveh." "I can't tell you." He begged him. He didn't want to tell him. So he said, "I'm not going to the Tzion." He went back to Russia. Well, many years later, in 770, he saw him, and he said, "How is it possible you guys live over there and you didn't have a mikveh?" He said, "No, the room that you stayed, there was a mikveh." So he said, "Why didn't you tell me?" He said, "I was scared if you get caught, you will tell the police." Can you imagine this?
They had behalten and height.
Yeah, but even though he's Bahaltan and he's his good friend, he said, "I was scared that when you get caught, they're going to push you to sue him,
Yeah.
and you get no choice, you're going to have to say where the mikveh is."
He was right.
You can understand it, but that's how fair people live. And he said, "The room that you stayed, the mikveh was there." Imagine this. They probably take some wood out, a little hole.
You know, if you're used to going to cold mikvahs, it's nicht megaveinzach. You get used to it, you know.
Yeah, but
If
this
after a while,
was he broke the ice to go in there.
Maybe after a while you get.
No.
No.
Maybe the people who live there, I don't know.
Why,
They
they
drink
have
like a
good-
cup of
good
vodka
cup-
before,
That's
I don't know.
it. A cup of vodka.
That's it. That's the only thing I could think about.
Maybe that's what they do.
One cup before and one cup after.
Yeah,
Something
that's
like
1 cup, 2 cups.
I'm thinking about the people. I saw this morning a guy blowing out the snow. Friday night, he blew. Like crazy. Why you leave? The only thing is it's quiet. All you see is mountain of snow. Mountain of snow. That's it. That quiet. You don't see nothing. Not even birds.
Where's where in Russia? Is it?
It's us in Canada.
Canada.
Oh,
He
No,
was
Canada?
just here.
North. North. No, not sure.
Montreal. Yeah.
And the highway is constantly clean.
Yeah?
Constantly clean.
The highways are clean.
Always clean. 24/7 they have trucks cleaning. Non-stop. It's falling, they're cleaning, it's falling. Not like in New York, waiting till the fall, then they stop. No, constantly. Putting snow, cleaning this. Amazing. They leave, otherwise the city would be closed.
Right.
The city continue living, no matter what the weather was. So what about the Simcha from Purim?
Okay.
What the Rebbe says?
Tonight is Purim Cotton. Purim Cotton is the last Dina Shulchan Aruch.
Bis wann? Bis Chatzos?
Shushan Purim Cotton.
Oh, Shushan Purim.
All at the
And there is the last halach in Shulchan Aruch. The last Shulchan Aruch is Yesh Emrim that you should be marbe besuda and Yudal Da'adar Rishon. And the Ramot says Yesh lahachmir.
Will you reading?
I'm not reading from here.
Oh.
V'toiv leiv mishta tamid.
No, it's from yesterday.
Yeah, this is from
It's from
yesterday.
yesterday.
V'toiv leiv mishta tamid. The way the Rebbe understands the pshat is like this. V'yesh lahachmir. Why? It's doch a machloikis. Yesh emrim to do it and yesh emrim not to do it. So the answer is wenn se kommt za mishta v'simcha to be meshabech the meibishten, you should always make the mishta. If you have a sofek, yeah, machen a mishta, nish machen a mishta. Make a mishta.
That's Lachmer.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that the Alter Rebbe, the Ramah is explaining himself. Why is it?
He doesn't give a reason for the halachas, but here he's giving a reason with a pasuk.
Right. Did you see there's a Kfar Chabad, the last issue? They had an interview with the son of the Pinchas Menachem Alter.
The Rebbe.
Yeah, the previous Rebbe. Unbelievable interview. And the yachas and the respect he had for the Rebbe and the respect that Rebbe had for him. And so there is, they interviewed him because it's 20 years, Purim, 20 years since he passed away. His father. He said his father sent him to camp, to Kfar Chabad, and he would write a letter to the Rebbe for every child he had. He has a letter from the Rebbe Brochus. Just remarkable.
The kiyuvim they had is, you see from the letters.
There is a Yechidus in Tov Shemam Dallas with Reb Pinchas Menachem Alter, who was later the Geder Rebbe. Very long, beautiful back and forth in Divrei Torah, starting from this to that, going medover ladover. One of the things that were discussed in that Yechidus, I'd like to focus on tonight. Mosek Medvash, a beautiful diuk that Rebbe has in the Alter Rebbe Siddur. Mamish Mosek Medvash. Before we go to this diuk, so they had a few things to Shakla. What's the main Adar? The Adar Rishon, the Adar Sheni? Because we say that the main Adar is Adar Sheni, but for some things Adar Rishon. So the Rebbe brought, for example, 7th of Kopei, is brought days that are fasting days, and one of them is Zayin Adar, and there's a machloikas which Zayin Adar, when it's a Iber Yor. So the Magen Avraham Paskins, it's Adar Rishon. Rabbi Yochanan Marsov says it's Adar Sheni. The Rebbe says that we know clearly that when Moshe Rabbeinu was born, it was a Iber Yor, and he was born in Adar Rishon. How do we know that? The Rebbe says it's clear. It's a Gemara Meforeshes. The Gemara says that the day they said Shira, they went out of the Yam, that was the day Moshe Rabbeinu, when he was a baby, he was thrown into the Yam Suf. He was placed into the Yam Suf. In the basket. And the Gemara says, because he was born Zayin Adar, so Ruba, it says, V'titzpenei shlosh yirachim shirim for 3 months. So, Ruba Sharish and Ruba Sha'achanan, most of the month of Adar.
Must be Adar Rishon, because if it would be Adar Sheni, it would be 4 months, not 3 months.
Right. It would be 2 months, not 3 months, right? So, therefore, it must be he was born on an Idaber Yor, and he was born by Adar Rishon. But like the Ptira, there is also this question if it was Iber or not. As we said, there's a machloikis here, la halacha between Rabbi Yochanan and the Magen Avraham. But la halacha, if you look in the Mishnah Berurah says like the Magen Avraham, those that fast. Zayin Adar, it should be the first.
The Chava Kaddish fasting on
first Adar. First Adar. If it's from Moshe Rabbeinu, if it's from Moshe, it's the first Adar. So the Rebbe then went on to say, Azoi, that the person can ask a shaila. It says, a chodesh ashenepach lehem. The whole chodesh is a chodesh of simcha. In a Iber Yor, do we have only Adar Sheni, that's a chodesh of simcha, or not? So the Rebbe said like this, the Moresh Chodenikis, they like to say that is only 1 month of simcha. V'haraya, the chodesh ashenepach lehem, that's all to do with Purim. Purim is an Adar base. But the Rebbe said it's not clear. Since it's not clear, and we know already that Amot told us, Lagabe Purim Cotton, that's machloikis a Purim Cotton, has to be a sud or not. And since it's a machloikis, when it comes to Mishta v'simcha, Toiv leiv Mishta Tomid. So Ibazoi, Zicher darf sein Simcha, beide Adars darf sein Simcha. By the way, if you look there in the Shari Tshuva, they bring from Poskim some beautiful things, and one of the things is that even though the Ramos says to have a Mishta, that it's kedai to talk Divrei Torah. If you talk Divrei Torah, just like it says in Lagabe Purim, Lagabe Chanukah, we learned it this year.
When you write the Menorah, you say Divrei Torah.
Yeah, that you should say Divrei Torah, and then for sure it's some Sudas Mitzvah. Then also here in Purim Cotton, you should make a Suda, and should say Divrei Torah, and it'll be okay. So now let's go to the diuk.
Itself, that's already the simcha.
Right, so that helps. That's exactly. Okay. So let's go to the diuk that the Rebbe has in the Alter Rebbe Siddur. Look at the first page here in the booklet. Ikar kavona betzir la mokr l'siduri shel admar zaken yu lahoyer marichas l'shene shel admar zaken b'siduri. The Rebbe in the Yechidus, he said, what's up Pshat Purim Cotton? Where does it come from, this Lashon Purim Cotton? We have like Pesach Sheni. Where does the word Purim Cotton come from? And the Rebbe says we have it in the Ramah, in the last halacha Shulchan Aruch, and also we have it even earlier in the Mariel. But the diuk the Rebbe says is further. The Alter Rebbe says in the Siddur, between Ashrei and Volatzion, all the days that according to Minhag Sforad we don't say Tachnun, and therefore we don't say Lama Natsei Yachyancha. According to Minhag Sforad, if you don't say Tachnun, so on that day you don't say Lama Natsei Yachyancha between Ashrei and Volatzion. The Alter Rebbe gives a whole long list of days that are not Tachnun, and therefore we don't say Volatzion. Right. Purim Cotton, the Alter Rebbe writes. One of the days is Purim Cotton. Shehu Yud Daled V'Tezvov Ba'Darish. The Lechoyre ain't moving. It's hard to understand. Madua Lekosav Admayra Zokim Purim Cotton Stam. Why didn't the Alter Rebbe just write Purim Cotton? Kamei Purim Godel Shein Mafaret Shehu Yud Daled V'Tezvov Oirak Yud Daled V'Tezvov Ba'Darish. Why doesn't he say just Purim Cotton? You don't know which days of Purim Cotton? Is there someone that reads the Siddur, can actually read Lashon Kodesh and the Kleine Oisius and those little words, the fine print, and you tell him Purim Cotton, he doesn't know what Purim Cotton is? You have to tell him it's Yudala V'Tezvav. By Purim Godel, the Alter Rebbe doesn't say Yudala V'Tezvav, because you know when it is. And if he wants, he should say just Yudala V'Tezvav Avdeshim. Why does he say this double Lashon? Purim Cotton Shehu Yudala V'Tezvav Ba'Darish. What's this double Lashon? יש לומר בזה בדברי מישראל מצאנו כמה ניסן שירו ליוחד על הציבור לעיר במדינה מסוימת ונקרא לגדול ישראל ליום טוב עבור משפחה זויה עבור מקום זה ונקרא בשם פורים קוטן. There were many miracles that happened sometimes to individuals, sometimes it was family, sometimes it was for a whole kihila. So the Gedolei Yisrael that said that for that family, for that country, that city, that community, this should be a Yom Tov, and it was called Purim Cotton. For example, Purim shenikva al yedei Baal HaTosfos Yom Tov. The Tosfos Yom Tov made a Purim l'zecher nes she'ir aloi, and to commemorate the miracle that happened to him, Megillas Eva, as he wrote in the Megillas Eva. Megillah Shabbat Mesuper Proteanas, he wrote a Megillah called Megillas Eva. It's totally a total of 30 pages, the Megillah, and about half of it is from him, and half of it is from his son.
That's Rabbi Hillel's grandfather.
Yes. And at the end he writes, it's called Divrei Egeres Azois Shekasafti, Umore Isi Al Kocha, Nikaveya Gam Yom Mishta V'Simcha L'Deresechem, Alive al Bonei B'Noisai. Yeah. What happened? Already in the days of the Maral, he was appointed as a dayan at the age of 18. He was very young. He was appointed as dayan in Prague. Then he was at in Vienna, another place. Then he came. They brought him back to Prague as the Rav of Prague. Europe, Baruch Hashem, they were malumed with wars. That was the time of the 30-year war. And who was going to finance a 30-year war? A Jew tax. Especially the Jews in Prague, they really carried the burden of financing the war. 30 years. Goyim, they drink up their money in a day. Who has money? The Jews. So the Jews, there was a very heavy tax against Jewish kehilas. Prague being a big, wealthy city that carried a big burden of the taxes. The Tosfos Yom Tov, who was the Rav of the city, had appointed a special committee that would say how much every person has to give They would take the government wanted the money from the community. It wasn't. It wasn't from Chaim, from Yankel, from Zorach, from Shimon, from Levi. It was from the community.
Need to give $1 million.
Right. Exactly. So, what are you gonna do? Do you have to? No one's gonna cough up the money. You have to make a list, and you have to give a tax to every Jew or Jewish family. Unfortunately, there was one very wealthy man that felt that he was overtaxed, and the Tosfos Yom Tov disagreed with him. The Tosfos Yom Tov said that no, this is what you're gonna pay. So he wasn't interested in the young rabbi. He figured they'll get rid of him. Unfortunately, he was successful. He said that the rabbi is he all kinds of things. The government, the rabbi is very wealthy, and he's cheating. And he had published Sforim at that time. Madane Melech Lechem Chamudus. He said, see, he wants to be a king of the Jews. He makes a commentary called Madane Melech. He's a king, and he wrote very offensive things against monarchies altogether, and against Christianity in particular. The 5th of Tammuz, he was arrested, and he was taken to Vienna, which was the capital, and he was sentenced by a tribunal of Catholic priests to be executed, Rachmana litzlan, and that all his books that were published needed to be burnt. At that time, the Jewish community had influential people. They got involved, and for astronomical amount of money, they were able to. The king commuted his death sentence to a penalty of money, which the community paid. They raised the money, and his books need not be burnt, but the name was changed. That's why it's not called Madane Melech; it's called Madane Yom Tov. If you learn in the Meforshim, so they say, look in the Sefer Madane Melech on the Rosh, but there is no Madane Melech on the Rosh. It's been renamed to Madane Yom Tov in the second print because of the problem, because of this issue with the government, and also here and there they raised a few lines here, which whatever the Catholics considered offensive, but. He was chased out of. He could never be a Rav in the government of Prussia, and he was chased out of the city of Prague. There he went on to be a Rav. Tosfos Yom Tov went on to be a Rav in many countries. The Tzemach Tzedek, the Menachem Kruchmal, writes that there isn't a bigger Bakim in Hagi Yisrael than the Tosfos Yom Tov. He grew up in Germany. And he was a Rav in Prussia, and then he was a Rav in Russia, he was a Rav in Lita. Finally, he was in Poland. He ran a big yeshiva for the last 12 years of his life, 12, 14 years of his life. He took over the position of the Bach in Kruke, in Krakow. And over there he had a big yeshiva. Those were the days of the Gzeiris of Tach. He was in Kruke in the days of Tach V'Tat, when massacred so many Jews in Ukraine. Many Jews escaped to Krakow. Krakow then was a Ir V'Hem B'Yisrael. It was a very, very, very choshev community. He's buried he's buried till today. You can go. I was there with my children. We were in a prominent place in the cemetery, which is right behind the Ramos Shul. A little bit of the story of his life is engraved. There's a huge stone, and there's a lot of engravement on the stone, on the front and the back, and on Lashon Kodesh. A lot of his life, he suffered a lot throughout his life. He wrote a commentary on the Mishnah. He's known for his commentary on the Mishnah. It's almost every Mishnah you see by today, in the right and the left, it's like Rashi and Tosfos. They'll have the Bartanura, and they'll have the Tosfos Yom Tov. Tosfos Yom Tov had a unique way of learning. Tosfos Yom Tov also went in the derech of his Rebbe, the Maral, who emphasized the learning of Pnimiyas HaTorah, Musa part of Torah. He was also remarkable that he wrote Svarim in Yiddish. He wrote like Hilchas Malich in Yiddish, so the women could read it.
Pasha to know what to do.
Yeah, Pasha to know what to do. He wrote He wrote a ton of Svarim.
But in the Mishnah, it's in Ivrit.
Yeah, that's for scholars. But he wrote for women also. He wrote Svarim in Yiddish so they could read and know what to do. And one of the Svarim he wrote is the Megillas Eva, which is a whole Megillah about the story, his life story, particularly this story of how he was sentenced Rachmana litzlan to death, and that how he was saved.
Sent into where?
To death.
Oh.
The day that he was released from prison was the second day in Adar, and the day he was taken to prison was the 5th day of Tammuz. So he wrote a Megillah and he said for all his descendants forever, the 5th of Tammuz is a day of fasting, and the second day of Adar is a day of rejoicing. It's like a little Purim. The back of the booklet here, I have one copy of 30 pages of the Megillah Seva. It's a long Megillah, but if you look at the top 2 lines, he writes, "Amnon Kain hinini achshav ani koveya gam yom mishta v'simcha." He's koveya one day of fasting, which is the 5th of Tammuz, but he also is setting a day for mishta v'simcha yom ha'alef l'chodesh Adar. I'm sorry, not the second of Adar, it's the first day of Adar. Mishenichnas Adar marben besimcha v'asheni l'rish chodesh l'deresechem ad oilam alai v'albonai u'pnoisei v'chasonai v'kaloisei. Ki boi b'yoyim chazer ator l'yosh nisav bezdim v'ram b'kila kedosh kruke im agol shlokol v'seh kin zakeno kelis baruch l'shorsa la'ovde v'tashlom chuke b'yom meilu loilik p'tzayim ki im l'chuke lo. Kenegoisei shorat b'is Mashiach Omei. There's about 16 pages from the Tosas Yom Tov, and then as I said, the book is a little more than 30 pages. The rest is from his son. A lot of the drama and surrounding his life story, a lot of the drama is he never wrote, but his son filled in the blanks. What's remarkable is at the end of his life, he did come. The person who caused him so much pain and was and informed against him to the government was very sick. And he asked that the Tosas Yom Tov should come visit him. Yeah, Tosas Yom Tov came, and he said, I was just angry a little bit about the money, but I didn't really mean to hurt you that much. I just wanted to hurt you, Stam, not that much. I just wanted that you should get kicked out of the town. You shouldn't be at all. It didn't mean, I had to take off. But the Tosas Yom Tov said, I forgive you with my full heart, and I'm going to daven for you that you should recover. Son doesn't say if the man recovered or not, but that's where the story ends.
That's amazing.
Till today, the descendants of Tosas Yom Tov keep this day, and it's interesting if you look. And we learned it once. The Gemara in Brachos, the beginning of the last Pedic, talks about a person who comes to a place that a miracle. The Gemara talks about a miracle that happened to all the nation and a miracle that happened to individual. When it says, if it happened to the whole nation, everyone makes a blessing. Otherwise, only he makes the blessing. According to the Rif, the Gemara says, Hu breu barbere, him and his son and his grandson make a bracha on that place where the miracle occurred. Hu breu barbere, that's the girsa of the Rif. And the Tur says that it stand mistabra, that if not only him and his son and his grandson, but all the generations, all call it. And in the Shari Tshuva and the Shulchan Aruch brings that therefore the Rambam and also the Tosas Yom Tov, he gives these 2 examples of individuals who had set a day like a Tonas Esther, a day of fasting, of the day of the day that was the height of their trouble, and the day of the height of their release, of their Yeshua, of their Geula, of their redemption. They had set it as a day of Purim, a day of rejoicing for them, their children, their grandchildren, forever, as a Purim cotton. So, says the Rebbe, a beautiful answer. The Rebbe answers. That's why when the Alter Rebbe says, that you don't say Tachanam Purim cotton, he has to say and add a few words. Shehu Yudala V'tezvav Ba'adarishin. The question was, well, everyone knows what Purim cotton is. Who, you don't know what Purim cotton is? The answer is no, we don't know what Purim cotton is. Because if the Alter Rebbe just said Purim cotton, one might say that it means the Purim cotton that like the grandchildren of the Tosfos Yom Tov, or the descendants of the Rambam. So therefore, the Alter Rebbe said no. It's Purim Cotton is Yudalad and Tezvav Ba'adarishan. That's why the Alter Rebbe says that. Kvar Nesamnu B'Sifrei Asufas. There's the Rebbe says that if you look in the Svarim that gather these stories, you'll find a lot of stories about individual Purims. Look in the bottom, in the footnote, Rei Oitze Yisrael Erech Purim Amid 215 Ve'elech. So, several years ago I was learning the Sikha, and I said, a Sefer Oitze Yisrael, where am I going to get this Sefer? Now I must tell you, I have every Sefer in the world, Kemat. I have this little computer box, and it's called the Oitza Chochma, and I have 50,000 Sforim, I have everything in my fingertips. At that time I didn't have it yet, but this was just a remarkable thing that happened. I looked up in my windowsill and it was sitting right there. What happened? A few days earlier I had been in my father's house. My father said he was in a place, they sell these Sforim, second-hand Sforim. Most of the time there's nothing worth. They're not worth a nickel. I mean, they have new Sforim, it's beautiful, but sometimes you find bargains. Sometimes you find good Sforim. He said there was a set, and also he didn't know what it is, where it is. It was missing a few books. So he got it $1 a book. It's not the first time my father got me $1 a book.
You mean in Borough Park?
Yeah. It's not the first time he got me $1 a book. He gave me a few books. It ended up those books I read from cover to cover twice. This is not the first set. There's another set of 6 Svarim. He bought $1 a book. I read every one of those books twice, cover to cover. That's how valuable they were. But I didn't know what the content is. I just put it on my windowsill because I don't know where to put it yet. I have to put it in the right place, otherwise I'm never going to find the Sefer. So until I find the right place, it sits in the windowsill. A few days later, I'm learning the Sikha, and it says to look in Oitze Yisrael.
And you remember the book.
Sitting right there in my windowsill. I went like this,
Unbelievable.
opened it up, page 215, it was right there.
That's Hashgacha.
Doesn't end. A short time later, so Charnowitz has a son-in-law. He's a Rav in Hong Kong. So I know him from Amol. I was in yeshiva. That's the wrong ones. He was in. He sat on the same tables. And years later, I met him here. I didn't Charnowitz's son-in-law. He was halfway in college. He was halfway in yeshiva. I was learning the Kollel Elyon. We're learning Kochim at Yeshiva University. So he comes here, and I said, "Oh, what are you doing?" He's writing his doctoral dissertation. Okay, what are you writing it on? It's some obscure sefer. I said, which sefer? He said, the sefer called Oitze Yisrael. I said, from Dr. Eisenstadt. Sure, I know. I know the sefer very well. He said, wow, how do you know everything? I said, the Rav and Beit Menachem Mendel has to know everything.
I think he's in China.
By the way, why did he call it Megillat Iba? Because that's an interesting word, but
Eicha Yoshva Bodod Ha'ir. Because he I
see. So it's an acronym.
Yeah.
Because the word Iba means
Eva means anger. Hatred.
Yeah. So it has a meaning, and it probably shocked us.
Before we go to the next paragraph, turn to the second page here, to the Sefer. So actually, from Charnowitz's son-in-law, I found out that this person, Sefer Oitze Yisrael is like an encyclopedia. It's 10 books. It's like an encyclopedia on all Jewish things. And I've used the Sefer a lot. It has a lot of interesting information. It's not in print today. It's like an obscure Sefer, but it's very interesting. And I always wondered who the author was. Was this Dr. Eisenstadt a religious Jew? Was he a maskil? What was it? So he told me no, he was a religious Jew. He was he was modern and progressive, but he was actually a religious Jew. So it was just interesting to know who the author of the book was. He said he was a Frum Yid.
Well, he's doing the PhD. He should know.
Yeah, I said, it was good for me. This way I found out that I wouldn't want to read from a Sefer.
Get a copy of the dissertation.
Yeah, unless...
I think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah. What's wrong with Dr. Rabbi?
So, Purim Cotton. Look in this Sefer Oitze Yisrael. Purim Cotton. Nikra Yud Daled v'Tezva V'Adarishin Sheinem M'Tachem V'Notze Tachem K'Yikra Purim U'ad Sheinem Samacham Nissen.
250. Okay.
The main Purim is the second one, which is close to Nissen. V'Yesh Oid Purim Cotton. There is another concept of a Purim Cotton, a Purim Miyuchid. It's called L'Mu'uret Shainas. The different stories Shekoro that happened. Bahem Nisim, that happened there, stories of Nisim L'tzibur, to the congregation, Oy Liyachidim, or to individuals, that they accepted upon themselves, on their descendants after them, to celebrate that day, with singing and praises to Hashem. These Purims are mentioned in Jewish literature, and I'm going to go through according to the alphabetical order. He brings here 21 stories, very short. But any one of these stories, if you do research and you find all the fill in the blanks, you have 21 delicious stories to tell to your family. One better than the other. One better than the other. Take it home and research every one of these stories. You'll have 21 of the best stories to tell. 21 of the best stories.
Morris's stories? Morris,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Happenings.
Is it available in English?
I don't think so. I don't know. Purim Edom, which is Purim in Algeria. Number 2 is Purim in Izmir. Number 3, Purim.
Where? Purim and where?
Izmir.
Oh, Izmir, right.
Purim, yeah.
Turkey.
And Kuna, it's in somewhere in Turkey.
It's in like Iran or Iraq.
Then turn the page. Purim Burgil, which is Purim Tripoli. Purim de las Ladrunis. There is number 6. Yeah.
Ladrunis, what's that in Greece?
I think so, yeah.
By the way, these Purims have been mentioned elsewhere.
Yeah, it's just fascinating. Here's a list. It's like, right. It's fascinating. Purim, it's number 6, Purim Vidin. Number 7, Purim Vincent. By the way, if you noticed, from number 1 till 6, they were all Sephardi places. Mm-hmm. And if you look from 7 onwards also, they're almost all are...
the Vince or...
Vincent. Oi Purim Frankfurt, die im Chof Ador, Gebäude Nitzlo Meredifus, Vincent Fettmilch, Veseyate Bishnas, 1616. Mannstan Schrift, 1903 Tzad 284. Monatschrift, I'm sorry. Monatschrift. That's the source of the story.
Monatschrift is a word in Yiddish? Like
a newspaper.
This is really amazing.
So this story was like this. The story of Purim Vincent is like this. So in the year 1612, there was a new king appointed in Germany, and he wanted that his coronation and the parade for his installation should be in the city of Frankfurt. At that time, Frankfurt was a very prominent city. He wanted his installation to be in the city of Frankfurt. He sent a message to the mayor of the city of Frankfurt that they should prepare the city for him.
Frankfurt is the Irabira from Germany.
Not today. Today it's Berlin.
Oh, okay.
But then Frankfurt was very prominent. At that time, there were 3,000 Jews living in Frankfurt in a crowded little ghetto. But at that time, Jews were like the private property of the king. Why? Because they paid a special tax for his protection. So
like his Jizra.
So his income, that was his personal income. The Jews were his personal income. So they paid for protection. So some of them took the money and never gave any protection anyhow. But that was a source of income. Usually there was very little protection that came. It was just an excuse to squeeze money out of the Jews. Well, there was in Vincent Fettmilch was the head of the Bakers Guild in Frankfurt. So you can have a butcher's guild, you can have a Schneider, a Shumet, a tailor's guild. Okay. Api Halacha, there's a concept of a guild. And, this is sort of similar to unions, but it's different. A guild is like the members of a certain craft will get together and they will care for each other. They'll make sure that they, whatever it is, they'll fix the prices, they'll do bad stuff, good stuff, whatever it is. There's a workman's guild. He had the baker's guild, and he hated Jews, and he considered himself the big shot of Frankfurt, and he would get drunk. He would no one wanted to be close to him when he was drunk, particularly not the Jews. He would routinely come with a couple of friends. He'd walk into the Jewish ghetto, and he would He would hit, he would break, he would steal, and the Jews got fed up. So a few festa chaver, a few strong guys got together, and they made a group, and they had an alert system. Next time Mr. Fat Melch and his friends came, from nowhere, 20 Jews jumped on them, and they gave him a few good schmitz, and he went flying. And after him, all his cronies went flying, and they escaped the ghetto. From then on, he didn't dare to enter the ghetto, but he hated the Jews. He vowed that he would take revenge. So, the mayor of Frankfurt calls a meeting, all the leaders, all the business leaders, and he gets up and he tells them the good news that the king had chosen Frankfurt. That will be his city. There'll be a parade. That'll be his installation. Gentlemen, he said, this is going to be an honor, and this is going to bring us a lot of business and profit. All of a sudden, one person stands up and starts yelling. He said, no, we will not have profit. Vincent Fetmilch gets up. The Jews get the profit. The poor Christians are suffering, and the Jews make all the money. They run the finances. They run the businesses. They fix the prices. They give out loans and interest. They're going to be the ones. We're not making the money. In the name of the Bakers Guild, if our demands will not be met, there will be a strike. A week before till a week after the parade, there will be no baked goods in the whole city of Frankfurt. It was a commotion. How is a good German what he's going to have with the beer? He has to have a pastry with a beer. What are all the noblemen going to do when they come to Frankfurt? Chicken with the beer, and then they need to eat something, right? You can't just eat chicken. You need to have bread. You need to have pastries.
Let the Jews bake the bread.
So there was a commotion. The mayor of the city said, so what do you want? Well, Jews are not allowed to do this and not allowed to do that, and they're not allowed to. They can't run the banks, and they can't. And then finally, for dessert, half the Jews have to be chased out of the city. So there was a big commotion, and at the first vote he lost, but then he rallied and he rallied and he rallied, and he got. Finally, there was another meeting, and majority of the people had voted. The heads of the guilds and the representatives, majority voted against the Jews. Well, the mayor wrote up a petition, sent it to the king. King didn't want to hear of any of that. He's getting his taxes from the Jews. He's not interested in any trouble, chasing away the Jews. Business was going well. Taxes were coming in. He was not interested in changing status quo. Not necessarily was he a friend of the Jews, but why lose half your taxes? Why lose half your revenue?
If he had done the same thing as Haman, he would have said, I'll make up for the lost taxes.
Right. But every Haman is a little different.
But he hadn't studied.
Right. He hadn't studied the Megillah.
The Megillah.
So the king answered one word, unequivocally, no. Fetmilch got really angry, and he riled up all his people. And one night, the middle of the night, they barged into the ghetto. They killed every Jew they could meet. They stole. They chased all 3,000 Jews in one night out of the. Well, didn't let a Jew tip even a toothpick. Whoever managed to escape, that was just with the shirts on their backs. They all escaped the city. When word came to the king about what's happening, he realized that this is not. He took it as an affront to him personally, and he realized that if he's not going to quench this rebel Fetmilch, that this is not good for his kingdom. He said one thing, this guy's doing otherwise. This smells of a rebellion. So he wrote to this mayor of Frankfurt, Vincent Fetmilch shall be executed in town square. His head should be raised on a big, they chop off the head, they'd raise it on a stick, and should be hanging for several days. The city square. His house should be burnt. His family should be dispelled from the city and chased out of the city. The Jews shall all be returned. Their shul shall be rebuilt on the expense of the city. and they have to be compensated for their losses. Well, Fat Milk for some time tried to run away, and he tried to hide, and he had friends, but eventually the king sent reinforcement, and he took it as a personal rebellion. He was caught. The Jews were all 3,000 Jews were invited. The day they came back to the city, Fat Milk's head was chopped off in front of the entire city, as the king had requested. His head was like Haman, was hanging high up. His house was burnt, and his family was chased out of the city. What
a story, what a story.
And from then, every single year, on the 20th day of Adar, in Frankfurt, it was a Lebedik day. It was called Purim Cotton, and that was called also Purim Vincent.
Purim Vincent, that's it, Purim Vincent.
That's it, Purim Vincent.
So now, where was this?
Yeah.
Where was it?
In Frankfurt.
In Frankfurt.
In Frankfurt.
Yeah. Wow.
But the king was the king from just Frankfurt or Germany?
No, it was the king of that time.
Saxony or whatever.
Yeah, Germany had smaller kingdoms.
Tribes.
Right.
Yeah.
Different sections.
Right.
They were all organized and consolidated at one
later,
point.
Right. But there was a kingdom. Let's skip a couple of I underlined one more story, which I thought is just
a beautiful story,
a remarkable story. This is another story called Purim Saragossa.
So that's in Greece, I think. Saragossa is somewhere around there.
So you have to see the story. This is just a remarkable story. I told it tonight at the supper table to the children. The kids loved this story. I always, Shabbos and Yom Tov, on special days, I tell the kids stories. So sometimes every supper, the kids try it. Is it today a special day? And I say, no, it's not a special day. It's a special day. I want to hear what you learned in school. Tonight, the kids tried it. I said, yeah, tonight is Purim Cotton. I have to tell a story. So the kids love it when they have a story. So tonight, this story I told, the kids loved this story. A fantastic story. So the Jews of Saragossa were getting ready for a parade that would be welcoming the King Alfonso V, the King of Aragon.
Oh, Aragon. So that's France.
Yeah. Spain or whatever. Okay. King of Aragon. Now, every time he would come to the city, the Jews would all dress up nicely.
I'm sorry, you're Spain.
Spain.
That's right, Spain.
The Jews would all dress nicely. They would go out with a chuppah, with candles, and they would carry the Sefer Torahs. Now, the elders of the city decided that it's not covered for the Sefer Torah to be schlepped every time the king comes to the city. So they came up with this thing, that they would open up the boxes of the Sefer Torah. They was Fardim. They had these nice, fancy boxes. They would open up the boxes. They would take out the Sefer Torah, the actual scrolls, and hide it in the Aron Kodesh. And when the king would come, they'd come out with the beautiful boxes, with the crowns and the bells, and the chuppah and the candles, and they would, they'd come and greet the king and bless the king and go back to shul. But why should they disturb the Sefer Torah for no reason to take out the Sefer Torah? Unfortunately, there was a Meshumad called Marcus, and he hated the Jews. So he went to the king of Aragon and he said, yes, I want to tell you a secret. The Jews don't respect you at all. They come out, they're two-faced. They show you as if they're bringing their holy scrolls. Empty boxes. Empty boxes. Chutzpah. Audacity. Empty boxes they're bringing. The king was burning in anger. I want to see. I want to see. Come with me at the next parade when I go to the city of Saragossa, and I'm going to make them open the boxes. The Jews were informed that the king of Aragon is coming. They as usual, they got the Sefer Torahs all the night before. The Shamash takes out the Sefer Torahs, puts it in the bima. Shamash goes to sleep middle of the night. He has a dream. He sees Elionov. He's there. Elionov says, immediately you go to the shul, open up the Aron Kodesh, take the Sefer Torahs and put them back in the boxes.
But there were more than one shul. There were a number of shuls. They did all the same thing.
I don't know.
That's the part of the story.
He says it in short, the story.
I read this story.
Yeah.
I heard this story.
And he tried to go to sleep. He had the dream again. Finally, he decided he's going to put the Torahs back. He went. He put the Torahs back. And next morning, they went out. The Sifrei Torahs. No one knew that the Shamash put the Torahs back. King of Aragon comes to the city. The Jews go to greet him. He jumps off his horse. He demands that the Jews open the boxes. The Jews were flabbergasted. And they could not listen, but they know if they open it up, there'll be empty boxes. They opened up the boxes, and there were Torahs in there. So it's like, couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. The king got so angry at Marcus that he
killed him in the spot.
he was executed. He was executed. Put him to death. So the Jews got double whammy.
It was the whole
got rid
town.
of
It was the whole town.
right. They got rid of the Mummer, who was
The Rav called the meeting of all of the shuls, and they all
changed.
They all did it. That's right. There wasn't just one shul in Saragossa.
What did they do?
They put back the Torahs.
They all did it so that no matter which one he pointed to, they would have the Sifrei Torah in it.
I mean, before the king came.
Yeah, there wasn't just one shul.
These are two out of 21 stories. Let's turn the page.
If we take all these days, we're probably going to add up to our calendar
This is a
20 days of
terrific
Yemei Simcha.
review of these stories.
Now there is, in the next page here, is Purim Shel Mishpacha. A few examples of individual Purims, not from communities. A Purim cotton for community, a Purim cotton for a family. So I underlined one thing that we just spoke about. Purim Shel Rabbi Yom Tov Lippman Heller, Shiyasad B'Shnas 1644, B'Yom Beis de Rosh Chodesh Adar. Aleph Adar, V'tziva Livnei Mishpachtel, L'kamis Mei Purim Eila B'chol Shana, V'likas Megillas Eva, Shekosav L'zikaron Advarim Shekoroloi, Avke Kereneso B'Yom Hei Tammuz 1630.
Oh, Hey Thomas, he said the first day.
Yeah, that he made. That was a day that he said as a fast day. But the 1644, I think that was the day. I'm sorry, the day of first day of Adar. It was when he was installed as the Rav of Krakow, and that was like finally when he came to Menucha V'Nachla. He came, to finally to a place of resting, and he, the rest of his life was more in tranquility. So that's why he set that day as the Purim.
There's another couple of minodim that the Heller family has to learn something in a certain day.
Yeah, can say.
I remember when my son was learning in Staten Island, so my Heller's son was a shir over there.
Yeah.
So he told him, a certain day that you're doing certain things.
So now to go back to the first page.
Was the date is 1630?
Yeah.
Right?
Also, there's something they don't eat.
Right?
Yeah.
There's something they don't eat also. He told me what.
Right, Turkey.
Turkey, yeah.
Let's look at the first page. Look at the first page, the fourth column.
First page.
First page, we have copies here.
Yeah.
Many of these types of little Purims existed before the time of the Alter Rebbe, particular in the Sephardi countries. As I said, if you look through the 21 Purim cottons that is brought in this encyclopedia called the Oitzi Yisrael, 19 out of 21 are from Sephardi countries. So, particularly in Sephardi countries, they had this spectacular miracles. So when the Alter Rebbe writes in a Siddur, Minik Svarad, that there's a Minik Svarad. And what's the Minik Svarad? Certain days that we don't say Tachanun, therefore we don't say Lam Natseach Gancha. Loikas a Purim cotton stam. He couldn't write just Purim cotton. Why? And he explains that it's the 15th and 16th day in Adarish. Mikiven Shaloshim Purim cotton, Yoch Lichlogam Purim cotton, Acha Shenikvim V'mokim Proti, Velvad Yudala V'tazvav Adarish. It could mean also the small Purims of communities or of families. Or maybe he meant only these small celebrations of Purim, and not the 15th and 16th of the first Adar. We know we don't keep all the other dinim of Purim on the first Adar. We don't do Kriyas and Megillah, we don't do B'Shleich Manas, etc. Therefore, Yesh Svara Loimer, there is a svara, a person would say, you say Tachron. Therefore, the Alter Rebbe emphasizes, his intention is, which Purim Cotton, the 15th and 16th of Adar Rishon. Now, Benegel Purim Cotton Mesugan.
Everybody?
Right, yeah.
Because I hear from today says Elohim Tachman.
Mm-hmm. Also tomorrow, right? Negela Purim Cotton. Or what is it we do in Purim Cotton? Mesuga now, like in a community, say in Frankfurt, what do they do on the 20th day of Adar? The answer is Yesh Lavar B'chol Mokem V'Ofen Be'ez Ofen Nikva. You have to know in every place how the sages of that city had originally intended for that Purim to be. Had they intended for that Purim to be without Tachanun, that to read Megillah, to make it, how spectacular did they originally set this day to be? If they had set it originally to be a day without Tachanun, there's no Tachanun. If they had organized it to begin with to be a day with Tachanun, with Tachanun. There's no one rule, says the Rebbe. It depends what they had set to begin with for this Purim. But again, that answers the question of the diuk. Why does the Alter Rebbe write that you don't say Tachanun on Purim Cotton, Shehu Yudal V'Tazov B'Adar Rishon, which is the 15th and 16th of Adar Rishon? I mean, it's a course. The answer is not, of course. There's a concept of Purim Cotton which is not the 15th and 16th. You can ask the other way. You can only write Yudal and Tazvav B'Adar Rishon. So why did the Alter Rebbe add also Purim Cotton? Just say 15th and 16th of Adar Rishon. The answer is he wants to explain the reason. He wants to explain why don't we say, so he says it's Purim Cotton. That's the logic of why we don't say Tachanun. But he has to add the words Sheheim Yudal V'Tazvav B'Adar Rishon. Because if he wouldn't say that, I wouldn't know what he meant. Maybe he means Purim Cotton, the first day of Adar for the Heller family. Or maybe it's the day in Iyar for the Rambam's family. Or maybe it's for the Sephardic Keilas in Tripoli, in Algeria, or we say over here in Morocco, or we have here in Saragossa, or in Frankfurt. Or in Frankfurt. So, Purim Vincent. So maybe he meant for those days. The answer is he didn't mean those days. And those days, you have to know what was the takon originally. Well, in Frankfurt, in Saragossa, in Tripoli, in Egypt, in Cairo, in Alexandria, all these places, in Izmir, you have to know what was originally the takona. But therefore, the Alter Rebbe has to explicitly say Purim Cotton, Shehu Yud Daled V'Tazvav B'Adar Rishon. As we said in introduction, this diuk that Rebbe discussed with the Pinchas Menachem Alter when he had the Yechidus, the Rebbe, beautiful long Yechidus, a very geschmack, lomdus back and forth. It must have been for a very long time. It was like 20 pages. And as I said, now this year is coming up as Yortzeit, 20 years since he passed away.
Who?
The Pinchas Menachem Alter, the previous Gerer Rebbe.
Oh,
So as I said, the Rebbe said to him that one could ask, when it comes to Adar Rishon, the Yechayev B'Simcha or not. So the Rebbe said the Morish Choyre Yidden want to say it's only Adar Sheni because that's when there's Purim. But it doesn't make sense. The people who like to be depressed want to minimize the days of Simcha. But really, the Rebbe said, since the Ramah brings in the end of Shulchan Aruch that there is a machloikis on Purim Cotton, Some say you're obligated to have a Mishnah, and some say not. So the Rama says, Yesh lahachmir, v'toiv leiv Mishnah tamid. You have to be machmir, and the toiv leiv, a good heart, will always have a Mishnah. So the Rebbe explained, what does that mean? That whenever in doubt, when it comes to a Mishnah v'simcha, err on the side of caution. Make the Mishnah. Toiv leiv Mishnah tamid. So same thing here. Since a suffix, if the simcha of a chodesh Hashanepach Lem is only an Adar Sheni, or it's also an Adar Rishon, we don't know the answer. So we have to apply the rule of the Ramah. Toiv leiv Mishnah tamid, not only for 30 days, but for all 60 days. Elsewhere, the Rebbe said that when in Halacha it says that when something falls into 60 mimba sheini mimba, it becomes bottle. Becomes bottle. So everything negative, Rahman al-Islam, that there might be, becomes washed away in the simcha. On the simcha of the 60 days of an Ibayord. The Ibayord, right? Ibayord there's extra, something extra special. So the Rebbe shall helfen that we should mismach gula legula from this Purim cottons, from these 21 Purim cottons from these communities. We should all in our own homes have our Purim cotton. Everyone has their pekalach. The Eibusher should make that every Yid sitting here tonight by the Shir and all the Beis Menachem Mendel, Klal Yisrael, the Yid should have a Geula Protis. They should have a Purim cotton. Should get rid of all the adversaries of the Yidden. Every Yid shall have Oida, V'simcha, V'sosam, V'yakor, Parnosa. They should have Ba'ashirus, and Bona, Chaya, Mezoyna, Revicha, B'kula Revicha. And from the Geula, the little Geula, from the Purim cotton, we should jump into the big Geula of Mashiach Tzidkenu.
Amen.